Second in the mind moving tutorial. In the last tutorial we made our can move with the mind and made it shake and then fling across into the hand. But the problem was that once we got to about frames 224, the can was overlapping the hand. And so what we need to do in this tutorial is we need to hide the can where the hand is. And the way we do that is using a mask. A layer mask, and which we'll then use in compositing to get the scene set up. So what we need to do is along the top here you've got different windows for doing different things inside of Blender. Now we can have many more types of windows layouts, but they don't have them all up the top here. But if I go click on the plus menu, come down to VFX, masking is one of the ones on offer. So I go click on masking, and I don't need these top two at the moment, so I'm just going to drag them up. And in here is where we put our layer mask. And for our layer mask, we're going to use our video that we used as the preview in the camera. So that's already there, so I don't have to open it again. I can just go to the little frame here, which has pictures stored in it that we can use. So here's our video. And we know that from our video before that our frame needed to be on our first frame that we needed to mask was on 124. So I'm just going to stretch that out. It's not 124, 224 was the first frame in which the hand was overlaying the can. So if I come up here and open this up to 3D viewport, go into camera mode, you can see that's the first frame. If I go to 23, the can's not in the hand yet. So here, and it's just touching the front of the thumb, but that should be behind it. We only want the finger. So we want the thumb left, but that finger. So when we're wrapping this around, we want to go around this finger, around these fingers, and they're going to change and they're going to get blurred in a few frames, but anyway, we'll sort that all out. Okay, so in here, this is where we're going to be working, and we're zooming right in the hand, because the hand, we don't need to mask off the whole body, we just need to mask off the hand to about the wrist. So I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to press Control and left click on the mouse, and that creates the first node. And if I just keep pressing Control, I can create a series of points along the hand. Now I'm going slightly inside of the flesh, and there's a reason for that. I'm going to add a feather to this mask. This will get quite blurry in a bit, so it's going to be a sort of imperfect mask as it is. But I'm just going to add a feather in there, which will kind of smooth out and blur the edge of it. It's not going to be a big feather, so I'm going to get quite close to the edge of the fingers here. But I'm hoping that'll help a bit. It's not going to be perfect though. Now this is where, if you were doing this for a normal movie, you'd probably have a better resolution camera than I'm using, and a higher rate of film, like you'd probably be going at like 60 frames a second or something like that. Control Alt C, I think. Alt C, yep. Alt C closes off our mask. And we now need to select it all by pressing A, so it's all highlighted in orange, and Alt S creates our mask, and I really don't want the mask any bigger than that. So what you're having a look at here is it's going to blur the mask in between these areas. Okay, so that's frame 24. So what we're going to have to recognize is that when we move to 25, the whole hand has moved. So I can use I can press just a minute. I can press G for grab, move my whole mask, get it roughly into shape, and that's actually fairly close, but you can see the fingers have moved a bit there, so I can actually select individual vertices and just move them. Alright, and this is why I've got lots of these little points in here, because you have to do a lot of this while you're doing this, and it's handy to have lots more. You want to avoid overlapping the mask over top of itself if you can, but you want enough there because sometimes there's bits of the hand are going to be stretched out enormously, and you want to do as little moving as possible on the mask. Just grab this corner. So I'm not going to have a perfect mask, but it needs to be animated as we go through. You've got to make sure that's turned on. So frame, frame, second frame. Not worried about the thumb, remember. Alright, up to the next one. All of it has to move. So I go G for grab, and I need to rotate because the hand's rotating a bit as it goes. So I'm going to rotate this. Now, if I double click on this, this shrinks over here. So if I press C, C allows me to sort of paint on a selection of vertices, and if I press escape, I can get out of that. Now I'm going to rotate that bit around, and that already gets me pretty close to the shape there. I'm going to grab that and just get that bottom bit right. I'm going to press A. I'm just going to select these vertices along the top here, and then I'm going to grab them down, and that gets them closer again. Then I can just sort of adjust them a bit as I go. And again, moving these vertices, remember I'm not trying to animate the thumb. The thumb will be covered by the can. So I'm just trying to look at where the front of that finger is. Now all of this becomes a huge mess in here because the fingers have kind of all shrunk in together, so I'm just so I might move those back a bit. So you can see the process I'm going through here. I'm trying to fit all of this in. So what I might do is actually shift these bits out. Escape. Grab those out a bit, maybe scale them. So you can scale these as well as moving them. Let's paint in these ones. Just grab those over here. Now what I'm going to do is just rotate these around. I'm just going to try and put these in together. And look, when I come back, I'm going to end up having to make another. Yeah, this can get quite time consuming. It'll get easier a bit later on once the hands stop moving quite so violently. Then it becomes a matter of moving in just small tweaks, but at the moment it's a little bit tedious. What we got here? Leaving the finger alone, the thumb alone. Now, there's probably a finger there. It's just blurred. So I'm just going to shrink those two down a bit. Scale them down a bit. Grab them in a bit, move them in a bit. And do the same here. So I think there's probably a finger in there, but it's just a bit blurred. So I'm just going to leave it there. You see there's a finger there, but it's blurred. It's very, very blurred. I think it's getting even worse there. Oops, I forgot to do that last finger in there. Deselect everything, grab that, scale that right in, grab that right in. Just move these along, get them out of the way. You are better off having more of these. Even though if I had less, it would be easier to shove them in next to each other. You can always zoom in as well, because these points are there, but they're in theory infinitely small. There we go. Alright, next one. So you're getting the idea. We are select all, grab. Now you see there's like an artifact there. I'm going to pretend that's there to some large extent. Move that around, grab it, and now I'm going to start moving across here. Now I'm not going to do this for the whole process because it's probably going to take me half an hour to get this all done. So in a second I will pause this for you, but you can see the process we're going through here. It's a matter of kind of creating a mask, and there'd be a lot more involved if you had video that was this blurred normally, but we're just trying to do the best job we can with what we've got. So I'll just finish off this hand. I'll zoom in a bit. Just pressing G, remember, in between these. Just try and keep the order of these correct. Try not to overlap them too much, or they kind of cut a hole in the middle of the... But yes, it's a bit of a pain when they get very close together. Let's make a bit of room there. Alright. Okay. So I'll pause there and I'll keep working towards the end. Okay. Alright, so we have animated the mask now, so that the mask is there on each frame, and you just go over and just check that the mask is working for you. Quite tricky, takes time, but just take your time. It's, you know, think of something, you know, if you're doing this at home, you could listen to some music. You won't be able to at school, sorry, but you know, at least when you're looking at that, you can look at it as you go. Alright, so that's got the mask made. Now, there's a couple of things we have to change in the mask. The mask has to be set to click this until you get the blue across this strike. I'll explain that when we get up into the compositing, but basically a mask can either be making, in this case it's blocking what's in front where the mask is, but it can also be show everything but that, so it could block out the whole scene other than there, and so you'd have the can only appearing where the hand is. We want the opposite. Alright, so we're going back to compositing. Now the compositing node is, if you've done the compositing tutorial, you'll know basically what the compositing node does. But basically over here we've got the compositor, here we've got the render layer, and the render layer has to be on top, so underneath that we're going to go add, input, movie clip. So even though we had the movie clip on our video, we didn't have it in there as such. It was just a background image on the camera. So when I click on that, again, I don't have to go to open, I just go click on that. That's got that, and we are mixing these two nodes together. So we can see what we're doing. We're going to add another output node, which is a viewer, and we're going to put that there. Now we need to join these two together, so for that we need an alpha over channel, which is in color, alpha over. Now alpha over channel has two separate, let's go and minimize this so I can zoom that in a bit. So what we do with that is we drag this image down to here. That's the top channel. This is the bottom channel. And then these go into the compositor. Now the compositor is the one that's going to allow it to render, but the viewer node allows us to see what we're rendering. So I can just move these out of the way so I can really see what's happening here. Alright, so at the moment I haven't rendered the individual frame, and we're at like 237. If I press F12, it will render out that and the actual scene, so we can see how well the mask is working. We just need one frame where that's in. Alright, so we go over that, bang, and should be in there. Why isn't it not in there? Convert, pre-multiply. Okay, I might have the mask around the wrong way. No, the mask isn't applied yet. I am not sure why that's not appearing. Okay. Alright, well, should be, oh yeah, okay, I've got them the wrong way around. Okay, sorry, movie clip on the top, render image on the bottom. Okay, so that's appearing on top of that, did them the wrong way around. Okay, so you can see in here, by the way, that zooms out the image, Alt V, so V zooms out, Alt V zooms in. So I've got my image here, and you can see that the mask is not applied yet, and that's because I haven't put the mask in here. So we're going to add a mask layer, which is our input image. It's an input mask. Now I forgot to name my mask, so you really should name these. So it's just called Mask 02. I'll call it Mask Can here. I'll go back to the compositor, and I need to tell it which mask it is. So in there I'm going Mask Can. Make sure you got feather on, scene size is right. Click in here, bang. Now I also want the motion blur in here. 0.8, 0.7. Motion blur will help with the hand's motion blur. So now you can see the mask is genuinely working around the hand. So if I go back, I'll need to re-render the can again for that scene. This should be the first scene in which the can is in there. So it has to render it on each frame. So yeah, that's working quite well. So the mask is working quite well in response to the actual thing, and you can see that it's all in there, all looking blurred. The mask is looking blurred. That helps it sort of merge with the can and make it look like it's actually a real part of the action. Okay, so that's how we set up our shots so that we can get this masked and look like it's part of the real scene. So all we need to do now is you would do a quick save of this. I'm not going to. You'd go File, Save As. I'm not going to because I've got this file saved for you. I don't want to save over it and have to undo everything. But we're going to go into here, into this one here. It looks like a little print thing. Keep all the settings where they are, except down here you need to tell this. You click on this folder to tell it where you want to save it. I'm going to save it in here, and I'll call this can mask test. You can call it whatever makes sense. Now in here it's going to save it as a set of PNGs. I want to save it as a movie file. I can save this with sound because there is sound in this. So in the audio, instead of no audio, I can go MP3 because there is sound in this file. So I might as well keep that in there. And later on I might go and edit in a bit more sound, like the can rattling on the table or something like that. You could go in and do that. Alright, so when you're finished getting that all set up, that's ready to render, you come across here to render and render animation. Now I'm going to pause it because it's going to take 10-15 minutes to do this, and if this crashes on me, then this is where the video ends. If not, then I'll come back and we'll view the final result. Okay, that appears to be done. So let's have a look at the animation. So far from perfect, but it will get the job done. If you wanted that to be really perfect, you'd have to spend an awful lot of time getting this all orientated. But the main thing is to show you the basic process by which this works. I mean, there's even problems here with terms of lighting on the can compared to the lighting in there. If you really want to do this properly, you'd have to actually send up a HDR, get an HDR image in this actual environment. There's lots of things you'd have to do to get this to look better. But it gives you the general principle of how this works. Okay, thanks for watching. Make sure you save this in your home drive. Thank you.